but I want to make just a quick presentation to the Civil Air Patrol Squadron 84, who are so wonderful. And Gail Harper is here with summer hair. And so here you go. Here's your canopy. And because, you know, well, Bill knows, he sits out there freezing or baking, one or the other.
Right.
And
if it gets too cold, you light one end on.
yeah,
oh, I
it's
can't?
a Coleman. No, just kidding.
That shows how gullible I am.
But I'll tell you, the Civil Air Patrol from Edwards, they just do a fabulous job. And not only are they helping us, but we're helping them so that they can be around airplanes, vintage aircraft, vintage military aircraft, and they are learning so much. And I thank you, and I thank Lieutenant Kevin Finster. So enjoy your canopy.
Thank you, we will.
And the shade.
I cannot tell you how awesome this is. This is going to give much needed protection to all the squadron members who attend the Mojave Plane Crazy Days and help keep them cool and comfortable so they can continue with their mission out there in this desert sun.
You know, the young kids, it doesn't bother them as much as it bothers
Us older
us.
folks, we fall over.
Even being a desert rat, it bothers me to think about it. So.
No,
Thank
we
you
appreciate this so much, and on behalf of Civil Air Patrol, we appreciate you and Mojave Space and Airport, Mojave Air. I can't even talk now. She has me so excited I can't even talk right now. Mojave Air and Spaceport.
Yes.
And we are always so glad to come here and cover Plane Crazy and provide your flight line safety to everyone, to all the pilots, and take care of our public too.
And that they enjoy that. Thank you so much.
This is, you had me at my words.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you. It goes into the hundreds of dollars just for one cadet. And so you'll see on here what it costs to run our staff, office supplies, weekend activities, field exercises, meetings, encampments. And then on the last page, you'll see all the expense report for what uniforms are required for Civil Air Patrol, including the BDUs, the blues, the cold weather, emergency service gear, and flights. One thing with Civil Air Patrol, with our squadron being based on Edwards, we've always had the advantage of going to the Airman's Attic, where prior military donate their old camouflage green BDU uniforms. Well, the Air Force changed their requirements and their uniform regulations to the ABUs. Civil Air Patrol regulations have not kept up with the times. We are still in the BDUs, which now are very, very hard to find. We're almost begging everybody for them. I'm going on Facebook begging everybody, if you have a BDU uniform, we don't care what size it is, please give it to us. So with not having that luxury anymore, we're asking the parents now to have to buy all of these uniforms. And so it's very, very costly. The one big thing that we have for Civil Air Patrol as far as fundraising is the Wreaths Across America campaign, which we will be involved again in this year, and I've already re-registered for that campaign. But we are also trying to do other fundraisers, including while we're here at the airport, we've started selling bottled water. Well, to date, the last couple of Plane Crazy Days, we've raised only $60. And so hopefully we can continue to sell that and make more. However, Major Bauer is asking the airport support in writing of to what we would be allowed to do on the airport property. I know we don't want to be involved with food, but if you have suggestions, he would like to see that in writing. And then we're trying to do other fundraisers off of Mojave, car washes and whatever. And above all, always personal donations, go really far, because then we are then able to put out those funds where they go more, when we have somebody go into an encampment, we're able to support that cadet. emergency service equipment, transportation, anything that CAP needs. And a lot of you already know all about Civil Air Patrol and what its all the requirements are, so I won't go into all of those details. And you can go on our website. We have our own website now, and it'll explain everything more. And our website is http://squadron84.cog, CAWG-CAP.org. That's for California Civil Air Patrol. And you'll see more about our squadron, what we are involved in, all the training that we're giving these cadets in aerospace education, emergency service, and teaching them military protocols. And plus all of the plane crazy events that we do. In fact, the end of the month, we're going up to Fresno for a 3-day event for CAP training with all the CAP airplanes up there. They're gonna be able to do more orientation rides. People are gonna be able to learn to become a flight observer, a flight scanner, more ground safety, emergency safety services training. So all of that takes money, and we all have to come out with that out of our own pocket. So we're asking our local business to help support us and help us with the ideas on the fundraisers. So what I have for you today, young lady, because I cannot appreciate you enough, is a Reach Across America patch, and their motto is always remember, honor, and teach.
Very nice.
And then this is your anchor, okay, showing that you supported December of 2013.
Super,
And I thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. That's great.
And
That's great.
if anyone has any questions on anything, I'll be here for the rest of the meeting.
Know that the last report, the AR report, you received an updated copy of this on your chair when you sat down, so that's the one we will go through. The first report here, the Treasurer's report, I just want the board to understand that this is a draft report. We have not completely closed out the year, so there will be some adjustments we anticipate making to the accounts. We probably won't have good reports until we get through the audit for the fiscal year ending 2014, but we do want to go through what we have as a draft for now. We still have about $83,000 worth of checks that were from prior years, 2010, 2013. So we think that the balance here is actually going to be increased by $83,000 once we get through the full year and once we get through the audit. I guess.
What do you mean, 83,000 outstanding that really
Outstanding checks
aren't?
that have not cleared yet. Yeah, that we think we're going to be able to include back in the balance. So we're still researching a lot of these old checks. When we come back to the board for the final year ending 2014, we'll have all that cleared up. The main thing to highlight here is we've had an increase in cash from June, or from May to June of $277,000. So we're definitely making a lot of progress in collections as well. Any questions on the Treasurer's report? Moving on to the fuel inventory report. This report should not change at all. Our inventory is kind of static, whatever it is every month. We do a physical check every month. What I do want to highlight here is we actually sold quite a bit more fuel in June over May. So we had a 29% increase in gallons sold June over May.
Can I make a comment here? That from time to time, various boards have said, why can't we predict month to month, year to year? Well, you get one heavy jet, one Navy 707 that's thirsty in the evening, or you have one MD-11 departing to go someplace offshore. You have one DC-8 departing to go to Nigeria, and that'll double your fuel sales for the month. And I have no idea when that's going to occur. We can predictably predict that we don't know when that's going to occur, but it will occur. And so that's why you'll see these year to year. We try to find. We actually know that December is a slow month. We can confirm that because a lot of places just take 2 weeks off at the end of December.
Moving on to the revenue and expense summary. And again, I want to reiterate, this is a draft report. We won't have final numbers until we close out the year. Not a whole lot to highlight here, other than fuel sales. We had about $40,000 in additional fuel sales from May to June, and that's obviously reflected in the prior report. The other revenues simply represents location site fees, reimbursements for staff time, gift shop, event center, the kind of thing that doesn't really belong under rents and leases or fuel.
What pushed the expenses above revenue? Because generally we're below,
So.
unless we're doing capital expenditure.
The expenses are roughly in line with where we were last month. The difference really is revenue. And this is just because of the adjustments that we've been making throughout the year that just happened to be hit in June. So normally our rents and leases revenue is right around $360,000. That's what we bill every month. So because of the adjustments that we've been making to clean up the year, that just happened to hit June 30th. That's why June looks like it takes a hit. So we won't have really good, accurate numbers for the whole year until we get the audit completed.
You understand what you just heard out?
No, and I don't buy it either. So, you know what your revenue is a month, that's pretty easy.
Right.
Cash checks, that's your revenue. So to say you don't have a good revenue number, I'm not buying that, but some cleanup, I can understand, but what's the cleanup? So we took credit for something last month that we should have been for this month?
It's really from the whole year, throughout the whole year. We had some accounts, some customer accounts that we had that were not legitimate, that we had to close out and credit back. And because they were never legitimate, we couldn't expense it, because normally if you have a write-off, it goes against your expense, or bad debt expense. But since they were accounts that were never legitimate, we had to discount it back to revenue.
Then you would discount it back to the month that it was bad in, not necessarily June.
Right, but since we've been reporting information to the board, we can go back and make those adjustments in prior periods. So everything kind of has to take a hit the last month of the year. So this is just a draft report. The good news is our accounts receivable is now cleared up, and this report that you've got in front of you, at least the revised report, hopefully that you have in front of you, is all of our accounts, all of our 90 days past due accounts, including the inactive customers. We feel like we have a really good handle on accounts receivable now, thanks to the efforts the teams put in over the past 4 months, thanks to the great collection efforts of our general manager here. Has been working with a lot of our customers. So this is what we've narrowed the list down to now. Just a couple things to highlight. We've been working with BAE systems for the past several months. There have been discrepancies on both ends, our end and their end. They're very cooperative. They're providing us with all kinds of backup and information. We expect this to be completely resolved by the end of August. It's taking a lot of time to go through a lot of the history of this account because they've had a number of customer accounts with us for quite a long time. So we are working through all of this with them, and we expect it to be cleared up soon. Let's see, I don't know if there's anything else major to highlight. Robert Jones was a customer we sent a payer quit to. He actually came in with a partial payment, moved out of the property. We've already rented out that building to another customer, and he's committed to paying off that balance by the end of this month, actually.
Let's hit the big one. So 5% moved out of the building?
They have. I think Stu's gonna brief that. It's one of the agenda items here, that they have moved out of their buildings. And we've worked out payment arrangements with them. So we'll keep the board updated on whether those payment arrangements are met every month.
So you're gonna brief that later?
And they move out.
I was just gonna give you a comment, but do it right now is fine. We issued them a pay or quit. They chose to pay and quit, and to honor their financial commitment, and making monthly payments beginning the 1st of August. And they moved out of their 2 facilities. We, at one of
So
the
they're not on the airport anymore?
They're on the airport, but leasing from another client, but not our building. One of the agenda items today, I think it's item E, is designating building 165 as surplus so we can demo it. That's the first step. I'm gonna change the neighborhood down there.
Building what number?
165. It was the original commercial building that Mr. Savage built on the airport. And,
And what's the update on Firestore? Because I see here it says they're paying monthly right now, committed to paying the balance?
They have a commitment to pay their balance no later than the 31st of August. And they are making monthly payments, and their payments have been arriving on the first of the month. An additional comment on the BAE Systems accounts. The reason they have taken a little more time, BAE downsized significantly in the October to December timeframe. Over the Christmas holiday, they sold Building 210 to Northrop Grumman, and they went through a number of contractual federal contracts endings, and they're going through the closeouts. A lot of this stuff takes up to a year, as you know, and the government close out of contracts, and that's what we're going through. I think we'll have that all complete by the end of August. They're great to work with.
This body to serve as an audit and finance committee that seemed to be amenable to everybody present. And so I would ask the chair to appoint the treasurer and myself to that committee if she would do that.
We need a vote on this.
I think we need a vote on this to make it official.
So I'll move, so moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Director Peterson that a committee be formed for the audit finance portion of the business, and which will be Director Balentine, who is now the treasurer of the board, and Director Evans. And as far as further members from the staff, I would say that our CEO could appoint whoever he feels is appropriate to that committee.
I'd like to see Mr. Ease on that committee at a minimum, and Mike as he's available to that. But absolute minimum, Mr. Ease. And anybody in the staff if she wants to be there.
I have a question. Do we have a second on this yet? Okay.
No,
So you want me to
we
wait?
should have a second.
You want me to
before
wait?
we discuss it further.
Second.
Okay, I have a second by Director Deaver.
Thank you, Madam Chair,
Questions?
if I may. This is going to be addressed to Mr. Sealander. The committee, the formal committee itself would just be the board members.
That's correct, that's the committee itself.
Okay, so the staff would supply the committee a liaison.
Yes.
Okay. At the discretion of the general manager.
That's great.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried.
Now that we have a finance committee, I would ask the board as task number one for the finance committee, and I haven't talked to anybody on the finance committee about this at all, but Karina and I would like to make task number one for the committee to meet and discuss and bring recommendations back to the board on banking options for the district. I think we have reached a point where it's time to review the level of service we're receiving from Mission Bank, who acquired the assets of Mojave Desert Bank, and I think they need to take a look at that, and we'd be happy to participate in that discussion.
The point we've been making since this came out, since we found out about this accidentally, because the county didn't inform us about it, so it was left off the list. I thank you for your support.
I have found and I've had many meetings with the project proponent, the company that is purchasing this project, found them to be really, I've worked with them on other projects. Again, it's not the company, it's not the people, it's the location.
Yeah, they're great people to work
Yeah.
with. We have a different point of view.
That's correct.
It's just a construction problem.
Yeah.
As the Mojave specific plan specifically states, that is a place for future growth. We don't have that much room anymore left for future growth of this community. And we do not want, we want the board to ring fence this community, and say, we're not gonna have anything inside it like you guys have done with the west side.
Absolutely.
We appreciate all of the airport district's efforts, especially with the wind industry.
Has
So-
anyone noted the size of the power poles going down the
Yes.
street?
Well, yeah, and there's another problem with that when it comes to developing along Old Street, but which we won't get into today. But Lee Pulsiver's trying to get through on that. And we discussed that more. Anyway, thank you.
I want to announce that we've reached an agreement. I'm going to be briefing the board in detail, the Rising Tree Agreement on the next wind project. And it called the attention of the press on the big board. You'll see some orange dots. And there are a total of 60 turbines in this particular project, all located west of the aqueduct. And by and large in that infield area between the last row of the Terrigen project and the Rising Tree has a couple phases that will be filling in the infield between the aqueduct and the base of the mountain and the rapidly rising terrain. One of the conditions of that agreement was for us to mitigate a few things on the airport that could accommodate several of those turbine locations. One of which we are recommending to the FAA that they relocate, and the Rising Tree group has agreed to that. The other is we're finally going to go to a 4-degree glide path on our runway 12, which frankly I think is a bit overdue, but now we have a requirement for it. Anyway, I will be briefing that and releasing that agreement to the press at the next board meeting. I want to get through today's final negotiations, but I think you'll be pleased with that. That concludes my comments. You know what, I have an idea that when we built the budget for 2014-15, we went at it with a lot of discipline. I think probably more discipline than we'd approached it in the last couple of years. And I'm going to spend a little more time in the budget with Karina, but over the course of the next 6 months, I'm probably going to be bringing a request to the board to send at least 3 staff members to a specific 360 training. I'd like to send Carrie and Kevin to a specific class called Management Action Programs. It's a 3-day course. I attended it early on in my career, I think in the late 80s, very beneficial. And I'm going to recommend Karina for a Center for Creative Leadership week or 2. I found I'd also attended that in my career in 1995. I thought if I could define specific training at the perfect time, both of those hit at the right time for me, and I'm trying to identify some staff to take advantage of some really impact training and skills refresher away from here. And so I'm going to be looking at the budget and bringing those recommendations back to the board over the next couple of months. That's it.